Audience feedback on album adverts. To get a real range of data for my audience feedback, I asked some audience members in the form of a structured questionnaire and others with a written questionnaire. I thought this would be quite useful. Sometimes when it's a structured interview, people don't feel like they can completely express their opinions, whereas having a questionnaire, people can relate to the open questions and completely put down what they want, as it's mostly anonymous. Here's a list of the questions that I actually asked my audience during the structured interview. What do you feel was successful about this album advert? Do you think it could be made better by including a picture of the artist? What are your opinions on the colour scheme? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being definitely not and 10 being most definitely, how successful do you feel the album advert is in enticing you to buy the album? Do you have any criticisms about the advert? And what about the advert is most eye-catching in your opinion? What do you feel is successful about the album advert? I found that the element my audience found most successful about my advert was the colour scheme. I designed this so that it would link to the music video and album cover, which I feel was quite successful. My audience obviously quite liked it as well. I think they thought it was quite eye-catching and extravagant, which relates to rock music. Do you think it would be more successful by putting a picture of the artist on the front? More than 50% people actually answered yes to this, which was quite surprising. My audience members felt that it would be more beneficial to have the artist member on the front. With this in consideration, if I were to do the advert again, I would experiment with photos of the artist using a direct address, so that the advert becomes more personal to the audience members. Approximately 3/4 of my audience members said that they liked the colour scheme I used in my album advert. It was also deemed to be one of the most successful things about it, so I was quite pleased with that. I asked this question in my structured interview as an open question and found that some audience members liked it due to the link to rock music. How successful do you feel the advert is in enticing you to buy the album? 100% of my audience members felt that the advert was successful in enticing them to buy the album. Do you have any criticisms about the advert? Some of the criticisms I received about my album advert was that there were only one bold title and there is no use of direct address. With this in consideration, if I were to redo it, I'd probably edit some of the titles to make them a bit more interesting for what the audience expected and potentially put an artist member on the front.